welcome to Community Health Talk, where we dive deep into issues affecting our health. I'm your host, Chansa Maimbo, and today we'll be talking about how cholera is affecting our daily lives. In studio with me today is Ms. Janet to dive deep into this issue. Welcome, Ms. Janet.
Thank you.
Okay, so we dive straight into the question of what is cholera?
So cholera is a diarrheal disease which is caused by a bacterium, Vibrio cholerae, and it can be gotten through contaminated water and contaminated food.
Okay, so what are some of the myths that surround cholera?
Most people say cholera is a death sentence. Of course, that is a myth because it is not really a death sentence. Once you have cholera and you notice the signs and symptoms of cholera, you can just visit the nearby clinic, a nearby hospital, and it is very much treatable.
Okay. So what are the some of the symptoms that one can get when they have cholera?
The major one is diarrhea, and we usually refer to it as rice watery stool.
Okay.
So when you have diarrhea and then it looks like this rice or something like that. Yes, and then other symptoms, you can be vomiting, you can have dehydration where it will show signs of sunken eyes, dry lips, dry mouth. You can be feeling fatigued, feeling weak. All those are signs and the symptoms of having cholera.
Okay. So how does cholera spread?
It is spread through contaminated water and foods. As I said, it's a fecal-oral disease. So if you ingest something that is contaminated, it will eventually end up having cholera. Sorry.
Okay. So is it advisable for someone to buy uncovered food in the streets?
No, that is definitely not advisable because, as you are passing, a lot of organisms there, the dust itself, and then you buy uncovered, you have the risk of having cholera, of course.
Okay. All right, so the phone lines are open. You can send us a message, call in using the numbers that are scrolling on the screen so that you can find out more about the cholera that has hit the nation so that you can know how to avoid it. And if there's any other personal question that you have that you would like to ask Ms. Janet while we have her in studio, you are free to text or call in. We take a break. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to Community Health Talk. I'm your host, Chansa Maimbo, and in studio with me is Ms. Janet. We are talking about cholera and how it is spread and the symptoms and everything that needs to be known about cholera. And we continue on this topic as we find out more on how we can prevent attracting whatever it is that would cause us to have cholera. And I would like to find out from Ms. Janet, is it safe for someone to drink water directly from the tap?
No, that is not advisable. So we recommend you buy your water from, of course, credible sources. If you can't do that, you might as well boil your water from home, have it boiled, and then you let her cool it down. If you can't boil your water, then you might as well chlorinate the water. Okay. So it is definitely not recommendable that you drink tap water directly.
Okay. So fruits are usually consumed on the streets. Is it advisable for someone to consume fruits that are sold on the streets, or do people have to buy from stores like maybe ShopRite or something like that?
Some people might have issues buying fruits from ShopRite because, of course, they're expensive. Yes, you
Yes.
can buy your fruits from the street, but I recommend you don't eat it right there and then. It's better you buy it and then go rinse it back home where you know your water is healthy and safe.
Okay, so if somebody, let's say, buys on the street and the seller actually has water to rinse the fruit, it's not safe as well.
Well, you might not know the sources of that water. You might want to trust the person, but what if you end up having cholera because the water might be contaminated?
Okay, so can somebody verify that water is clean just from the appearance?
No, that is not credible.
Okay.
Because all water looks clear and clean, but are you sure it has been chlorinated? It has been boiled.
Okay.
So you have to make sure you chlorinate your water, you boil it, or you buy from credible sources, as I said.
Okay, so is it true that the types of toilets that are used by people are a highly contributing factor to people contaminating the disease?
It depends with how you use your toilets. You know that some people are really unhygienic
Okay.
in terms of using the toilets. They know they're supposed to clean nicely and dispose nicely, but then they're just some that smear the walls and the likes. And as I said, it's fecal oral, so somebody might come and maybe touch the walls, and you end up contaminating your hands, put them in your without washing your hands and stuff like that. So it depends with how hygienic you're keeping your toilets as well, because there are some people who just don't know how to do that.
Okay, so meaning even if it's a public toilet, as long as it's well cleaned and the person that's using it has got certain habits that they put into consideration when they're using the toilet, it's fine.
Yes,
Okay.
as long as you are making sure you wash your hands after using the toilet.
Okay,
could
so
be
can you
credible.
just dive a little bit deeper on the preventative measures that someone can take to ensure that they don't contract the disease?
Okay, I'll start with drinking water. As I said earlier, you have to make sure your water is boiled. You have to make sure you chlorinate your water. You have to make sure you buy from credible sources, not just buying anywhere because you think the water is okay. But what if that was made maybe, in some unhygienic places?
Okay.
Yes, as well as the food. Make sure you eat warm food, properly prepared meals. Cover your meals. Don't just leave them anyhow. Make sure you practice hand washing techniques before you start your cooking. The utensils you're using, your vegetables. Make sure all that is properly cleaned.
Okay. Over the issue of hand sanitizing, is it something that you can advise if somebody says, oh, maybe there's no water after using the toilet and they have a hand sanitizer? Is that okay as well?
Hand sanitizer is credible, so yes.
Okay. All right. Then if somebody is traveling out of the country, let's say they're going to another country in an African setup or outside the Western world, is there something called maybe a cholera vaccination or something?
Yeah, we actually have those in Zambia.
Okay.
But a lot of people were skeptical because, us Africans are always skeptical with having anything that has to do with the vaccination. They'll be like, no, it's okay. We don't want to take that. What if they're trying to drug us? What if they're trying to kill us? No, these whites always come up with strategies and stuff like that. Of course, we have the vaccination, and I would recommend you get it.
Okay. All right. Definitely getting one. So can handshaking be a major factor to the spread of cholera?
Not really per se. As I said, it's fecal oral, but if the person somehow is having contaminated hands and you shake hands, you might have the chance of exchanging the bacterium, and you later, we people love to eat our nails and stuff like that. You might later put it in your hands and in your mouth, and then you would end up having the disease.
So what would you say are the recommended ways of greeting, since it's a normal thing for someone to shake your hand, oh, how are you, this and that. So what would be your recommended way of greeting to avoid the spread of cholera?
I don't want to prohibit greetings because it's an African thing.
Okay.
But as I said, I do recommend you wash your hands before you eat.
Okay.
That way you have lesser risks of having that, because you've been touching a lot of questionable places and things that could have you predisposed to having cholera.
Okay, because there's still people who, like you said, will bite their nails, like maybe they haven't washed their hands before eating, but just after shaking someone's hand, it's a norm that they have to bite their fingernails. So which means they've already contracted by virtue of just shaking hands and biting their nails. So which means for people like that, what would you advise?
Stop biting your nails.
No, but for certain people, it's difficult for them to, run away from something like that. It's been something that has been part of them for a long time. So maybe maybe if it comes to people biting their nails, what would you advise is the best way for them to stop biting their nails?
The best way is just to stop. I don't know how to say it, but yes, you have to stop biting your nails, because your nails harbor a lot of bacteria, a lot of germs, because you're always nitpicking something that is unhygienic.
Okay.
So you're introducing germs in your mouth that might end up making you have diarrhea.
All right. So for us adults, it's easier to get advice, yes? But then when it comes to children, how would you guide children on the best or safe practices on how they can live daily? Because a child, you tell them, don't do this, don't put your fingers in your hands. The moment you leave, they're already doing it. So how would you advise a parent or the children maybe that may be watching to, observe certain practices that will help them avoid contracting the disease?
Okay. So it starts with the parents. Parents must make sure they're always observing the children, what they're ingesting, how they're playing, the environment and their lives. Yes, you can never be safe, but then you just have to make sure your child is taking properly cooked meals, treated water, as well as practicing safe hygiene, hand washing techniques and methods.
Okay, so let's say in an instance where someone contracts the disease, then what would you advise would be an immediate action when someone realizes maybe they have the symptom of diarrhea? What would be an immediate action, maybe let's say before they go to the hospital, that they can take, because certain people are prone to self-medication? So so what would you advise would be like the best course of action immediately after they realize that they've contracted cholera?
Please do not self-medicate.
Okay.
It has to be investigated by professionals,
Okay.
so that we find out if it really is cholera.
Okay.
If you want to take something, I would advise ORS.
Okay.
Yeah, most homes have that. So since the person is dehydrated because they have been diarrheating, please have your ORS as you rush to the nearest clinic.
Okay. So for someone who may not have a pre-packaged ORS and maybe have not been to school or haven't had that information come across them on how to make it on their own, how would you explain how ORS is made?
So ORS made from home, you have a liter of warm water, add 2 spoons of sugar and 1 spoon of salt.
Okay.
Mix it and then wait for it to cool down a little, then you have your ORS.
Okay, so in measurements of how this person can take, since you've talked about a liter, can someone just take a cup, then rush to the hospital, or they need to finish the whole liter?
With an adult, you can take as much as you can, but with a child, with each loose stool, you take a cup.
Okay. So in general, what other advice would you give concerning this, the topic on cholera? What advice would you want to give out there to people who are watching in general, aside from everything that we've talked about, or maybe in summary, in closing, what you can talk about?
Okay, in summary, what I can talk about is, please do make sure you boil your water, you chlorinate your water, you buy from credible sources, make sure the foods, the vegetables, the fruits that you're buying are thoroughly washed from home, not you buying in the streets and then you start eating. Do not eat street food that is uncovered, please, because you might be predisposed to having cholera.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's pretty much what I can say. And rush to the nearest clinic when you have diarrhea, when you see that you're vomiting, you're dehydrated. Please find the nearest clinic where you can be treated, because cholera is not a death sentence. It is very much treatable.
Okay. All right, there you have it on the issue of cholera. We'll keep keeping you updated on the main news of the cholera cases around the nation. But as for today, we've come to the close of the health talk. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. It's bye-bye for now.